Who's looking tough going into the playoffs? Who is on the hot seat? What is wrong with Sam Hurd?
All right, welcome to this week's Tuesday Morning Quarterback. We're getting a little bit close to the playoffs, so Joe and I here have been talking about who's looking the toughest going into the postseason. I think that the Eagles are coming up, but they're going to have a hard time actually making the playoffs. Who else do you think is going to be tough going into it?
I guess, it's interesting how you started the topic with who's looking good going into the playoffs. Like, really, right now, the team that it's more about what team are you afraid to face on your way to the playoffs.
Right.
So, Eagles definitely won, and the San Diego Chargers, once again, pulling off that December magic.
Right, but both teams that probably won't make it. I mean, a lot of stuff's got to happen for both of those teams. So I think teams that are actually going to be in it, I think that, for me, the team I would want to face is probably the Saints. The Saints are looking pretty brutal.
Not just on your way to the playoffs.
Right, but actually in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think that probably the Patriots and the Packers are going to shore up those number one seeds. So they're going to have home field advantage throughout. But I think there are teams in both divisions that can beat either of them. You know what I mean? What do you think? Do you think that the Packers can pull it out and win the NFC Championship?
Yeah.
Do you think they can? So I think they've got some issues now. They've got some injuries with their line. They're not going to be able to protect Rodgers as well as they have been. Their running game is for shit, right? And their defense is 31st in the league. The only team worse is the Patriots, right? So I think that any team that makes the playoffs in the NFC has a chance to knock off. In the AFC, I think it's anybody's ballgame as well.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, people are going to be studying what the Chiefs did to the Packers, you know what I mean? Keeping,
they figured out how to disrupt the passing game, throw the timing on.
Right, and hold on to that ball. Don't let Aaron Rodgers have the ball.
Absolutely, and while we're on the subject, it really was the Chiefs were a better team on that day. It wasn't just that the Packers gave it up. The Chiefs were actually a better team, and you got to give some props to Romeo Crennel for that.
Better team, better game plan, better execution.
And speaking of Romeo Crennel, I mean, he's obviously not a candidate because he has only coached one game. But who do you think the MVP candidates for the NFL are?
For the Coach of the Year, once again?
Yeah, let's do Coach of the Year first.
Just name off my favorite coaches right now. Well, we kind of talked about this. Jim Harbaugh's a favorite of mine. I do like, let's see, who else would I say? Mike McCarthy, obvious choice.
Right.
I know Bill Belichick's yours.
Belichick, man, he does it every year. Yeah. What about who's on the hot seat?
Hot seat right now? Well, if that magic doesn't continue for San Diego, Norm Turner's been on the hot seat for a while.
He's always on the hot seat, though,
Jim Caldwell.
Tom Coughlin.
Let's see here.
You can't go. What are they now? They're 1 and 14.
Yeah.
1 and 13.
Poor Raheem Morris was supposed to be fired, but they didn't have anybody to fill it.
They didn't have anybody to fill that spot. And I think back in my division, you've got both Garrett and Coughlin, I think, are on the hot seat. One of those teams is going to make the playoffs by winning the division. The other team is out. And that coach, I think, has got something to worry about. What about MVP candidates on the team, on the field?
Players.
Yeah.
I think the obvious MVPs are Drew Brees,
Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady.
Which is, it's a shame that's all quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I think Tom Brady deserves to win it the most. I think he's doing the most with that team.
Like your second favorite.
My second favorite team. That's right.
Favorite quarterback.
What about Tebow? Should Tebow be in consideration for MVP?
No. I mean, the thing I love about Tebow is that Tebow never ever takes all the credit for the Bronco wins. Everybody else is bought into the Tebow mania and everything else. And that's basically. I hate when they refer to the Broncos as Tebow and the Denver Broncos. You know what I mean? The one thing I love about that squad is it's a team effort.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't get MVP. We're happy to have him. We're much happier than we were with Kyle Orton, but he's not an MVP quality candidate in my opinion. As a Bronco fan,
maybe next year. What about the least valuable player? How about Sam Hurd? What that guy, man? How much weed do you need? That's what I want to know. What is it about some of these players that they want to live that kind of lifestyle? I mean, the guy's making at least $1 million a year. I don't know what his salary is. He plays special teams, but he's got a chance to be a receiver somewhere. But he feels like he's got to go out and buy 1,000 pounds of weed and a kilogram of cocaine. And every week, he wanted that every week, right? That's a crazy story. What do you think it is that causes that mentality among some of these players?
Well, what is that quote? Like, never underestimate the other man's greed, right? And truth be told, is that it's not like
Some Scarface.
That's Scarface, right? Yeah. Like not every. This is my take on it. We look at that and we go, how do you get to a place where you're like professional athlete or entertainer or whatever, you're making millions of dollars, or you're in that area, and why do you choose like a life of crime or criminal activity to make money or whatever? It's not like all players are doing it. It's just more shocking when we hear about a guy who's saying you don't have to do that.
Right. Well, I think it's kind of cultural. You know, I mean, look at what happened with Ray Lewis, and people getting killed in nightclubs and stuff, and guns are coming out. Plaxico Burress is shooting himself in the leg. I think it's some of the neighborhoods these people come up from. This is just what they grew up around, and that's what they've identified with, and that's what they thought was cool growing up. And now they're in a position and they can't let go of that. They still hold on to that as that's what's cool.
I have like me. I can see why you could say that, but at the same time, it's not like everybody that came out of like inner city.
No, not everybody.
Once they get to that place, it's just out there committing crimes or taking advantage of the opportunity to commit crimes because they're they're an NFL athlete and they're like in the public eye now. It's just the thing is we see these. We always are looking at the worst examples of anything, and it's just so shocking to see these people that are in that life, like or basically on that platform, and they're doing these things.
Right. It can't just be about money, though. There's got to be something other than just being about money. Right. All right. So that's our opinion on some of the hot topics this week. I've been Jeremy.
I'm Joe.
We'll see you again next week.